We'll move on to our next question. Abortion has been a losing issue for Republicans since Dobbs' decision. 6 states have passed pro-abortion laws by referendum, including several red states. How you address
the abortion issue was designed at its first level to always be a states' right issue, right? The states should be able to decide. And what the Supreme Court did was give it back to the states, which I think was a good thing. So ultimately, because the United States is a republic, right? We're a republic where the individual states have the rights to do that. So I think rightfully so, the Supreme Court passed it back to the states. So the states have the rights to do what they want to do based on each state can do. They have all different ways they can do it. They can do it by vote, they can do it by referendum, etc. And so that natural process is taking place, which I think is how it should occur, Chris. Now, on a personal note, for me, you could say that I'm pro-life and pro-choice. Let me explain that, okay? The right-wing Republicans, from a Christian perspective, which I honor and which I support, are talking about from the time of when life starts. As a biologist, I can tell you life, by all accounts, starts at conception, period, okay? And anyone who argues against that is out of their mind from a scientific basis. So life begins at conception. So I think rightfully so, people want to protect that life and make sure that that life is honored and treated, which I support. But here's a contradiction I have, the contradiction I see with many of these right-wing evangelical Republicans who rightfully support that. They seem to support that up until the baby comes out of the womb. But after the baby comes out of the womb, they don't seem to be pro-life anymore. They're fine with Monsanto polluting the world. They're fine with GMOs being created. They're fine with poisons in the atmosphere. And you can see this consistently. Many of the pro-right-wing, pro-life Republicans actually support Monsanto, support genetically engineered foods and so on, and support the poisoning of the environment, which obviously affects that child after it comes out of the womb. Many of them are actually fine with supporting countries like Israel and Zionism and imperialist wars, where young working class people are sent to die, 17, 18, fighting for the bourgeois of the 0.1%. So I think if you're truly pro-life, then truly be pro-life at a very fundamental level. And that concept of pro-life needs to go before the womb and after the womb, in my view. That's, to me, truly a systems-based concept of pro-life. Not just saying, well, I'm pro-life, I want to make sure they don't kill the babies. Great. Well, what about after your baby's born? If you look at the reality right now, between 1980 to today, the United States life expectancy is going down. Let me repeat that again. Between 1980 to today, the life expectancy is going down. And that's the curve. And I can share with you that curve right here if you want to see it, because I wanted to make it accessible to everyone. Let me share with you that curve. And if you go right here, this is the curve, Chris. You see this curve here? Since 1980, this dark line represents the life expectancy of all the industrialized nations going up. But you start seeing in 1980, we've been going wackadoodle. And this represents the fact that we're destroying the immune system of the US population. And right, even before COVID, look what's been happening, right? So if you have a child, a son or a daughter today, get ready, your son or daughter is going to have a lower life expectancy than you. And to me, this is not pro-life. This is anti-pro-life. And this curve going downward is a result of both Republicans and Democrats' policies that have affected your biology over the last nearly 60 years, going back to the Kennedys. And that's what we're talking about. Neither wing really is truly pro-life. So I'm glad we're talking about abortion, because ultimately it leads to the issue of life. And the life expectancy of the United States public is going downward. So if you have a child, your child is going to have a lower life expectancy than you. So this is why we need to stop voting for the lesser of two evils. It's time that we vote for someone like me, who's one of us, for a systems overhaul. There's no way out of this. And no other candidate on that stage will even discuss that curve, because it'll expose all of them as frauds. They're not pro-life.
Yeah, I was going to ask, either side seems to overlook this issue completely. They don't even mention it. It seems to me like they're avoiding that totally. And I totally agree. What do you think was the trigger that really started that decline? Do you think there's a nexus point?
Yeah, I think the key thing to recognize is if you look at that graph I'll bring it back up, right? What's important to understand is this is not a pro-vax and anti-vaxxing. You notice the curve's been going wackadoodle since 1980. This is a result, Chris, and everyone listening, and to the American people out there, right? This is a result of not any one issue. It's a result of a whole bunch of interconnected policies. It's a systems problem. You're looking at a systems scientist. I look at problems and I try to see the interconnections among things to find the real truth. And what you find is Republican and Democrat, Republican and Democrat, Republican and Democrat, Republican, Democrat, for the last 60 to 70 years have colluded together to create policies to destroy your health. Let's take very recently, 2020, lockdowns. Lockdowns were supported by Booby effing Kennedy Jr., a Democrat. They were supported by Trump. They were supported by Fauci. They were supported by both both wings of the establishment. In 2020, I was the only person, the only scientist in the world, the only candidate on that stage who not only spoke up vociferously against lockdowns, but led massive demonstrations across the country against them. Why? Because I know the policy of lockdowns affects oxidative stress in your body, will create inflammation in your body, will affect mitochondrial respiration. You see what I'm saying? Lockdowns. Why do I say that? Because when you lock down someone, they get depressed. Depression leads to all these ailments in your body. Depression leads to people taking antidepressants, which leads to destruction of the immune system. Okay? Lockdowns fundamentally, you don't get enough vitamin D. Well, vitamin D from the sun is critical to immune health. So think about what I just said. This singular policy of lockdowns killed people. Trump killed people, Booby effing Kennedy killed people, and every one of those people on the stage, including Ron DeSantis, and all of them in 2020 were supporting lockdowns. It took him 1 year to say he's against lockdowns. Well, by that time, pharmaceutical companies actually had made $80 billion. So all these guys that were too little too late, delayed truth. I was the only guy. Why? Because I'm one of us, man. I care about working people. These people don't. They can run off to some beach. They can go off to their private beaches and get all the vitamin D they wanted, right? And that's what many of them did. They didn't wear masks at parties. You saw it all. The global elites did all of this. But I was the one who called out lockdowns, number one. So that's one policy. Let me give you another policy. Income inequality, as we just talked about. How much stress that creates in the average individual. The fact that you only have $400 on a rainy day, that stress affects your cortisol and your adrenals, okay? When your body's not able to modulate cortisol, you get all types of inflammation taking place in your body, which leads to all other kinds of diseases, right? So I've given you two examples, lockdowns, income inequality. Let me give you another one, Obamacare, right? Or the entire healthcare system, which, by the way, Trump didn't really address at a fundamental level, Republicans and Democrats. The entire healthcare system has divorced the doctor being even able to see the patient. In the old days, a doctor would look at the patient, would look at your eyes, your face, your tongue. You had a family doctor. Now, starting in the 1970s, with the monopolization and the collusion between big pharma, big hospitals, and big insurance, they created all these layers between the doctor, the family practitioner, and you. So there's no more intimacy of really understanding your body on a personalized level. The doctors are told what to do by the insurance companies. And doctors, most of them, don't even understand the ankle bone is connected to the foot bone. Most doctors are egomaniacs. They don't take a systems approach to the body. They will never tell you they don't know because they're taught to be basically a robot. And by the way, mark my words, in the next 5 years, 90% of these doctors are going to be replaced by robots because they can do that, because that's what doctors are. If this, give this drug. If this, cut this out of your body. That's pretty much it. So this is why I keep saying we need a systems overhaul. We cannot be voting for the lesser of two evils. For the first time in American history in a long time, you have someone like me, one of us, trained engineer, trained scientist, mowed lawns, played baseball, came bottoms up, one of you. And so the real choice is, why is it that I had to leave the Republican Party and run as independent? And obviously, a guy of my skin tone should have been embraced by the Democrats, but neither of these parties serve any of us anymore. So it's time for us to build a bottoms-up movement, and that's what Shiva for President's about. It's about us. It's about you and me uniting bottoms up and letting go of these idiots. There's 8 and 9 idiots in the GOP right now. Trump, the other idiot, didn't even bother coming, but there's a 9-idiot circus going on, and our discussion right here is the one that everyone should be listening to. Those people listening to it, share this everywhere. Go troll Fox News right now. Tell them to come here.
Love it. This is where the real discussion is taking place right now. And you mean to tell me you didn't get $1 million loan, Dr. Shiva, to start your first business?
No.
Oh.
Every business I've started, I've done by taking a product, delivering it to a customer-funded development. Everything I've done. So if I didn't deliver anything, I didn't get a paycheck. I didn't have VC hedge fund guys. And by the way, since you're bringing that up, this disgusting fellow, by the way, they had to go find a brown guy to try to mimic me. And this turd, I call him, Vivek the snake. That's what he is. Let me tell you why he's a snake. This guy's an absolute scumbag. And he should, not only should he not be allowed on the debate stage, but I believe he should actually be in jail. Let me tell you why. Several years ago, about 5 to 10 years ago, he started a company called Axovant. And you can look it up, AXOVANT. And what he did was he went and bought for $5 million a drug from one of the big pharma companies called GSK. And for $5 million, he goes buys this drug. Now, this drug was developed by GSK, a multi-billion-dollar pharma company, to fight Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. And guess what? It failed all 4 clinical trials. 4 clinical trials, it failed. Everyone, please write this down. It failed. So he goes and buys this drug for $5 million, puts it in his new company, and then has his mother, I mean, this is, you can't write this, his mother, who's a physician, take one of the failed clinical trials, reanalyze the data by throwing out all the people who didn't complete the trial. It's called a completer analysis. And voila, they represent the new results of essentially just redoing doing the clinical study. They didn't even do a clinical trial. They just redid the data and they presented this as a amazing drug that should work. Then they took that company public, raised billions of dollars. Now he knows that this failed 4 clinical trials, raises money, cashes out about $50 million personally, and then waits about 2 years and then does a clinical trial knowing it's going to fail on patients. And the stock tanks. In fact, they had to shut down the company. In fact, they changed the name of the company. And I just looked at it, April 2023, they shut it down. This guy's a fucking scam artist. He's not interested in people's health. And this is the same reason why the life expectancy is going down. Because scam artists like him, who get a Yale law degree and get a Harvard biology degree, are supported to scam people. It's not about healthcare. It's about actually creating death, making money. It's financial engineering. And these are the kind of people that are on the debate stage right now. And not one of those people, be it Tucker Carlson or be it any of these people who have interviewed this scumbag, has asked him about that. So they give them wonderful layup questions. A guy like me, who actually works for a living, is a scientist, can call this out and educate people. But this guy, Vivek the snake, someone should take a bat and beat the snake. That's what people should do. He's a real vicious, filthy scumbag snake. Again, $5 million, bought a drug, a useless drug, okay? Redid the marketing, took money out, and then did clinical trials on people. All of his companies should be shut down. No one should allow any of his companies to do clinical trials on anyone. It's disgusting. This is why we need a systems overhaul, because things are not going to get better. We cannot be voting for the lesser of two evils. For the first time in American history in a long time, you have someone like me, one of us, trained engineer, trained scientist, mowed lawn, played baseball, came bottoms up, one of you. And so the real choice is, why is it that I had to leave the Republican Party and run as independent? And obviously, a guy of my skin tone should have been embraced by the Democrats, but neither of these parties serve any of us anymore. So it's time for us to build a bottoms-up movement, and that's what Shiva for President's about. It's about us. It's about you and me uniting bottoms up and letting go of these idiots. And many of you know, we have this movement called Truth, Freedom, Health. You can go to truthfreedomhealth.com and check it out. We need to build a bottoms-up movement. We need to shatter the swarm. The swarm are all those people on the debate stage, Republican and Democrat, black, brown, red, white, color, it doesn't matter. They're a multi-racial, global, decentralized bunch of assholes that do not give a fuck about you. What can you do? Well, go to Shiva for President. Many of you work hard, so we made it easy. Go get a bumper sticker. Get this bumper sticker, put it on the back windshield of your car. Why? 100,000 people will see that. That will be defiance. I no longer believe in your lesser of two evils. I'm supporting a guy who's one of us. If you're a little more adventurous, go on to Shiva for President, download one of these flyers, hand them to your neighbors. It's in the download section. If you want to donate, great, but I cannot take your money without giving something back. When you donate to me, I give you books, I give you knowledge, I give you courses so you can become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. This is about us, and it is truly us versus them. And they do not want you living long and prosperous. I do. So anyway, everyone, thank you. ShivaForPresident.com, Truth, Freedom, Health to all of you. And I want to thank our host, Chris Bradley, today. By the way, we need to get on the ballot in every state. Go to ShivaForPresident.com, volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. This is our time. It is us versus them, and we must shatter the swarm. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone. Be well, be the light.